Hello, everybody. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signor, and I'm so excited because tonight it's Saturday, and Saturday Night Live is bringing back Eddie Murphy. If you aren't a Saturday Night Live historian like myself, I've seen almost every episode. I'm a big fan. It always has its ups and downs. There have been some terrible seasons, some terrible casts, but when Eddie Murphy was on, it was legendary. I used to watch the best of Eddie Murphy Saturday Night Live VHS tape when I was a kid over and over again. So he hasn't been on since the 80s. This is a huge return tonight for him to come and be a host. The only other person who's really sort of blown them off has been Adam Sandler, who got fired and sort of was very bitter for not coming back. So it'll be very interesting to see Eddie Murphy come back tonight. Good or bad, it'll be nice to see him actually doing comedy. He showed up for the anniversary special a few years back and didn't do anything, and it was kind of frustrating to see that he's going to show up and perform. I've seen him in some interviews saying he's going to bring back Gumby, some of these characters. I'm very excited to see him back in action in a comedy like setting like Saturday Night Live. The other thing that's been exciting about Eddie Murphy sort of back in doing Coming to America 2, all this stuff, Dolemite, fantastic movie on Netflix. He's out doing press, and he just did Jimmy Fallon, and he answered some interesting clips or actually interesting myths about him. He sort of corrected. And the one that I've always been fascinated by was this rumor that he was going to be in Ghostbusters. So Jimmy just flat out asked, and here let's hear this. And see what he said.
Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis wanted you to be one of the original Ghostbusters, but you turned it down.
Yes, but I did Beverly Hills because I did Beverly Hills Cop.
Oh.
That's a pretty good excuse, I would say.
So you made a good movie. It wasn't like I turned it down in as much as I wasn't available because I was doing this other movie.
And so he's going to say something else interesting, so stay tuned. But I want to reiterate this. If you go and actually see the Movies That Made Us on Netflix, a really great show. For same people who made the toys that made us. It's really fascinating. But they did an episode about Ghostbusters, and when I was watching, it sort of it reaffirmed not only that Eddie Murphy was going to be in it, but I think a lot of people were like, oh, he would have played Winston because of people are just, of course, think that. That's not actually what the case was going to be. But let's hear a couple clips from this to sort of.
But like the movie, the original Ghostbusters were a trio. And that third Ghostbuster?
I wrote it for Eddie Murphy.
I don't want to be drafted. I get drafted. Who's gonna be the token black on Saturday Night Live?
It was me, John Belushi, and Eddie Murphy. That we were supposed to be the original Ghostbusters.
So then Belushi was going to be in it, and sadly Belushi died, sort of changing everything about the movie. And then later in the episode, he goes on to confirm. Let's see.
Outsider was this man.
I'm Ernie Hudson.
So they talk
Eddie
about.
got replaced by Billy, really. That's the main comic voice.
But there weren't just three Ghostbusters.
So that was key. Eddie got replaced by Billy as one of the three voices. And then they talk about adding Winston later.
There were
4 Ghostbusters.
and there's an important reason for
They
that.
added this later.
We had to have someone from the outside to come in and observe this strange world we'd created.
And that outsider was this man.
I'm Ernie Hudson, and I played Winston Zeddemore. Well,
So go watch the show because they go into much more depth, and Ernie sort of shows his frustration of he came on where Zedmore was on the page way earlier, and then they ended up giving more jokes to Bill Murray, everybody else, and he ended up sort of getting screwed throughout the whole process. And he does it very humbly, but sort of admits, as Harold Ramis sort of told him, like, hey man, I get this is Hollywood, it's how it works, don't take it personal. But that's, I think people just assumed wrongfully that Eddie Murphy was going to play Zedmore. No, that's not what was going to happen. Eddie Murphy, Belushi, and Dan Aykroyd were originally the 3 Ghostbusters, and then they probably would have had a 4th realist there to do it, but it changes the dynamic of what would that have worked. I mean, Bill Murray, for me, makes it. Like, he's so does Ramis and Aykroyd and even Hudson, but Bill Murray is really Rick Moranis. I mean, it's an ensemble by all means, but Venkman is my favorite. That's who I love in that movie. To think that could have been Eddie Murphy doing his own take, I'm sure it would have been popular because he was so popular at the time, and it was a really fun concept. It probably still would have been amazing, but it would have been such a different movie. Like, such a different movie. Imagine Bill Murray replaced with Eddie Murphy. But, Beverly Hills Cop Eddie Murphy, not like Norbit Eddie Murphy. It's a fascinating thing to think about what that would have been like, how Eddie would have played it, how he would have played. I mean, Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd were fantastic together in Trading Places, so not that far-fetched. And to have Belushi do more work would have been fantastic. It's so sad we lost him so early. So the more I think about it, the more of the lost opportunity of the Belushi, Aykroyd, Murphy Ghostbusters would have been fascinating. But look, we got Murray and it worked out and it was great. I'm just fascinated. And now with Eddie Murphy coming doing Saturday Night Live tonight, I thought this was an interesting answer to finally explain, well, what happened? And clearly he chose Beverly Hills Cop instead of Ghostbusters, and probably good move for him. Perfect venue for him. That's still a franchise that apparently they're going to do a fourth soon. But to me, that's his best role. That and Coming to America, those to me are really close. If you're going to talk best Eddie Murphy, it's those two. And to do the ensemble in Ghostbusters might have been tougher for him. Because even at Saturday Night Live, yeah, he worked with Joe Piscopo and everybody, but it was really Eddie's show. So did Bill Murray steal the show? Did he work? Was it an ensemble? A lot of questions in my head. What do you think? Hit me up down below. Let's talk about it. Would Eddie Murphy have worked in Ghostbusters in the Bill Murray Venkman role? Think about it. Tell me what you think. Other interesting tidbit that he revealed, though, in that same interview with Jimmy Fallon was the one movie he did turn down.
Do you know who?
The only movie I ever turned down that became a big hit was that Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
You were going to be in that?
Yeah, I was gonna be the Bob Hoskins dude, and I was like, what animation and people? That sound like bullshit to me. Now every time I see it, I feel like an idiot.
Now there's two where I'm just like, what? Eddie Murphy would have been Eddie Valiant and Who Framed Roger Rabbit? I don't know. What's more interesting? Eddie Murphy playing Roger Rabbit or Eddie Murphy playing Ghostbusters? I feel like, interestingly enough, Eddie Murphy probably could have pulled off Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I mean, no, Bob Hoskins was fantastic. He played the straight guy next to all the cartoon characters who were so outlandish and crazy. So for Eddie Murphy to come in, he would have had, I don't know, I haven't seen him that reserved in his earlier movies like that. Where would he have shined in his comedy moments? Because Bob Hoskins is great. He's playing more of a serious detective. It's a very film noir sort of feel. Would they have still played that sort of style and the old style? And would Eddie Murphy have been in trench coats and everything? I don't know if it would have worked the same. And Bob Hoskins did bring sort of that whole feel of a different genre to it that played off of the characters so well and made it a little darker, more adult for a cartoon live action hybrid. So that one's just bizarre. To know that Eddie Murphy could have been in Who Framed Roger Rabbit and then he feels like an idiot afterwards. It's like one of those, I'm sure it's like Will Smith turning down The Matrix. He was supposed to play Neo. But these lost sort of cast opportunities are always fascinating to me. And this one shocked me. I didn't think that was the case. But what do you think? Eddie Murphy, better as a Ghostbuster or opposite Roger Rabbit and Who Framed Roger Rabbit? What would you rather see? Or do you just not like Eddie Murphy and you're saying screw both? Honestly, anybody who says that you're wrong. 80s Eddie Murphy specifically, he was a rock star, could have done anything. He killed it in that era. And I think he still did in some of the 90s. Not everything he's done has been bad. But, he started doing family movies, right? Meet Dave, and I can't even remember all of them. It's what was that one? The Life, Imagine That. He's made some odd choices, but even like Dr. Dolittle is fine. Nutty Professor is fun. He does the sequels and they start getting dumber and dumber. And Norbit. But Bowfinger is fantastic. Dolemite recently is fantastic. He was fantastic in Dreamgirls. I really think he got robbed that year from the Oscar. I love that Eddie Murphy's back and doing stuff. He's made a lot of really fantastic movies. And I'm excited to see him tonight on Saturday Night Live. I'm excited to see Coming to America 2, although I feel like Coming to America 2 is dangerous. It could have the same problem that Dumb and Dumber 2 had, that Anchorman 2 had, bringing back sort of I haven't seen it work yet, where you really bring back, Creed is sort of the best sort of sequel remake so far out where they bring back everybody and do it correctly. In a comedy standpoint, I haven't seen them pull off like, oh yeah, it's good. Hangover, even same idea. It's like sort of the Dumb and Dumber Hangover sequels, Anchorman. It's like, you're like, yeah, I love these characters. It's so fun to see them together. Ooh, yeah, maybe they shouldn't have come back together. It's just not the same as the lightning did not strike twice. So Coming to America gives me that nervousness, but we'll see. What are you most excited about? And what of these two options of movies that didn't happen would you have preferred to see? Eddie Murphy Ghostbusters, Eddie Murphy Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Tell me down in the comments below or on social media. And stay tuned tonight, Saturday Night Live with Eddie Murphy. If something crazy happens, maybe we'll talk about it. But if not, watch it tonight or later on whatever apps you have and enjoy. Because this is history, comedy history tonight. And potentially, if they don't screw it up, which sometimes Saturday Night Live does, let's be honest. But I hope tonight they don't screw it up and they deliver something. Because he's Gumby, damn it. And I really want to see some fun Eddie Murphy do some crazy up-to-date comedy. So fingers crossed. I'm excited. Stay tuned tonight for Saturday Night Live on both coasts at 11:30. And let's get ready for Coming to America 2 and check out Dolemite on Netflix now. It's a really, really fantastic film. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you soon, everybody. Bye.